Hello guys, Omni here. I wanted to talk a little bit about tonight's episode of Flash. We got an introduction to a new villain. If you haven't watched this episode, I would recommend clicking away. This is episode 518, and the title is Godspeed. So if you haven't watched this episode, go watch it. Or if you're not averted to spoilers, go ahead and hang around. Earlier today, they released a couple of different outlets released promotional images of the new villain Godspeed, who is the namesake of this episode. And this introduces yet another speedster into the CW Arrowverse, which has me excited. I know we've had Thawne being a part of Nora's story here for the past this past season so far, and that all gets revealed in this episode. It got revealed last episode, but the details of the relationship get expanded upon in this. This episode is primarily Nora's backstory on how she discovers her powers, how she starts to kind of learn them, her first initial encounter in the future with this new speedster Godspeed. And we're going to throw him right up on the screen because like one thing I want to say for the Flash, especially for its villains, the speedsters outfits, the way they portray these characters and bring them to the screen is fantastic. When I saw this was freaking gorgeous. I saw this before the episode. I didn't actually I know the episode was titled Godspeed, but I kind of figured we would just get a tease. But he was a fairly big focus of this episode, and this is where a confrontation with him results in both the death of close friend of Nora's, which sparks her in this journey to seek out Thawne on how to take down the speedster. And in that same turn of events, that's how she discovers that she's been dampened, that she's been a speedster her whole life. There's such a great range of performances in this, from Nora, from Grant Gustin, and Barry's reactions to having his complete trust broken by his own daughter. This was easily my favorite episode this season, and in Flash for a long time now. For a while, I know there was a little bit of a complaint of speedsters, of there just being too many speedsters. Oh, who's the speedster villain of this season? And we got a full arc on the Thinker, which I feel like was a great build-up because he really did feel like he posed a threat. And even with Cicada this season, felt like a real threatening character. The problem about both of those is when you have somebody who initially doesn't have the same power set or a comparable power set to a speedster like the Flash. You run into a problem. Them as the villain for the entire season arc can kind of feel like it drags. And you run into the problem with, especially when the hero is a speedster, you're like, how'd they get away? Like, he can just and just grab them. And it also built up because with quite the opposite of that with the Thinker last season, where he obtained all of these powers, they wrote themselves into a corner where he was kind of overpowered to kind of overcompensate, I guess, against Barry Allen's Flash, to the point where the way they defeated him was very anticlimactic. That season finale, short of Nora's reveal, was very unsatisfying, I think. Especially for the amount of effort it took and the amount of power that the Thinker actually had for it to end the way it did, was just very abrupt. However, with Cicada, he became a threat right out of the gate. He was tearing things up, but after the first, let's say 7 or 8 episodes, it became a cycle. How many times could they just loop this character over and over again, and him just and the team literally just let him fly away? They've had him dead to rights multiple times, and he just whoop, and Thor's away into the sky. Just, ho, I'll get you next time. And they just let it happen. Like there's so many, these been so many scenarios, and you just, if you're trying to have a person like sustain throughout the entire arc, you got to have great reasons for him to do that. And oddly enough, that's why seeing Godspeed in this is such a refreshing change of pace back to form. Actually, not a change of pace, a return to form for the Flash, because really, when you think about it, you know, the Flash and like his non-speedster villains are usually not the biggest threats. Cicada is a detestable and threatening character to somebody, especially with this version where he can just being near Cicada takes away metahuman abilities. That's great for certain metas, but like in the end, when they have them away from him or her, away from the dagger, that it doesn't, it's like, why don't you just cuff this person? Please? You have the means. And that's the problem when you don't have a villain with a comparable feat or set of skills or powers to match our hero, or overcome or outdo our hero, or our heroes in this case, because we do have Team Flash. However, this seems to be a one and done. I don't know. I really hope the Godspeed comes back, because I'm as much as I like this Cicada story arc, I need somebody that is, I just need somebody back in the game that actually kind of, you can get why they get away. Zoom, Reverse Flash, Savitar, they have the same skills, they have the speed, some of them have more speed, but like he can just zip, boom, be gone. They could leap through time, travel to another Earth, all kinds of these other things to get away. And it just makes sense because it's part of their skill set. It's not just like an oversight or the neglect of the writers themselves on making a better way for it to get out. Which is a little interesting because this version of the character seems to only have temporary speed because they're trying to recreate a permanent Velocity 9, which was the drug that Zoom was using in one of the previous seasons to jumpstart his speed after having lost it. It's a way to give people speedster abilities, and he's trying to make himself a permanent speedster. So obviously he, at this point in time, since this is his first appearance that we've seen, he doesn't have that yet. In the comics, from what I know, he can steal the speed force from other people. He can channel it, he can absorb it into his own and make it a part of him, which they kind of hint to when they talk about trajectory and the way they've disappeared, and when Nora is comparing the coloration, the change in color of his lightning, which is kind of curious on how they're going to go from this route. Is he also attacking speedsters and using them, experimenting on them as part of the formula to make it permanent? Who knows? I have a lot of questions and a lot of intrigue for this character. The fact that they're in the future, post-crisis, kind of makes me wonder when or if we'll see him involved again, if this is something that's only going to tie in the future timeline and not really affect our main cast yet. But it poses the problem. The Flash had the complete opposite problem. We were getting tired of speedsters, and now I really feel like, especially with Cicada, the Thinker, it was okay until we got that ending, but this season has been almost the same episode every time. Anytime Cicada gets away, save for a few standout episodes like the one where Nora shows up at his house, where Iris shows up at his house, and the episode where Nora is Groundhog Daying it, it's pretty much been the same routine when they confront Cicada, and she just zips away. It's the same thing. And it just makes me miss the speedsters. I'm actually hungering for a speedster to be involved, to the point where I saw that Thawne was helping Nora, which we all kind of assumed anyway, and we still don't know what's going on there. But I was hoping, oh man, Is Thawne going to be the villain? Is Thawne going to be the speedster? Can we have a threat, please? Is Thawne actually helping? And I was hoping we see Godspeed, and we got Godspeed, and it seems like he might be gone. I don't know. But Barry jumping into the future gives us a little bit of hope that we might see a confrontation between the past Flash and this future Godspeed. Or this will be a villain that comes out post Crisis on Infinite Earths when we proceed past that point in time. Because I can only assume the crisis that takes Barry away in the future that caused Nora to lose her father is Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's going to be the end of Arrow. It might be a end to this huge season 1 spark of an arc of a little mystery in the background that still is yet to be solved as to the disappearance of the Flash in the future. And I'm really excited for that. I'm really hyped and excited for Crisis on Infinite Earths. This is the only crossover that they've announced over a year ahead of time, which means I feel like they're setting up for something huge. Elseworlds hinted at the departure of Oliver Queen, heavily hinted at that, and with this short 8 episodes, 8 or 10 episode season that will be the totality of season 8 of Arrow, which is more than half the usual show order for a season of this show, will be the end of Arrow. This is the end of Arrow. And this will finally transition into, I guess, the Flashverse, because it won't be the Flaro or Arrowverse anymore. Doesn't mean we won't see these characters again, but with Oliver Queen out of the picture, with Crisis on Infinite Earths, with it leading into Crisis on Infinite Earths, I really think they're going to go big. There's a lot of rumors that we got Tom Welling on set of Arrow season 8, which if it's towards the end, I'm really hoping, so many people were hoping that this will be Clark Kent, Smallville's Superman from an alternate Earth, being brought in on the timeline, bridging the gaps between the different realities to converge on these infinite Earths. I really want to see them go all out and show as many versions of these characters as a proper send-off to Stephen Amell's Arrow, Oliver Queen. And I really hope we get some amazing stuff with the Flash going forward in the future. And I'd love to see another season focused around a speedster enemy, because, you know, I thought I was sick of it, but I miss it so much with Cicada that it's ridiculous. Anyway, guys, that's it for now. I'm going to pass this off to you guys as we do. Let's have a conversation down in the comments below, and I want to know what you guys think about, you know, what can the Flash do to really spice things up again, get the blood pumping back into this, because personally, I feel like Cicada's kind of been sucking it out of the show for a while because of this need to keep this storyline going. So let me know what you guys think. Are you still on board for this whole Cicada route? Do you think this transition into Grace rather than Orlin is a good idea? Do you think they just need to wrap this arc up? Do you think Cicada is even a strong enough villain to really warrant this much screen time in a full season? What do you think of Godspeed being introduced? Do you have any theories for Crisis on Infinite Earths? Let me know down in the comments below, and I will catch you guys in the next video. You guys take care.